Got it.
C'è. Sì, io un'oretta parlerò probabilmente.
Perfetto.
Ok.
Aspetta. Ok. Va bene.
Okay. So, welcome everyone. My name is Martina Paone. I'm talking on behalf of Quest. And here with me today there is Aurelia Bachmann and Matthias Brodescha. We are here to present the final results of the DEN project. And so we are so happy and excited that we arrived at the end of this project all together, and we are able today, to show you all that we have done during this year. Some of you might already know us because we have been in contact with many schools throughout this year and a half through questionnaires, interview, focus group, and workshop. But this is a final event in which we can and we wish to celebrate together and explain you a little bit of the outcome of this journey together. So the meeting today is gonna be not very long because being this more presentation, we just want to give you some hints of the three major documents that we created and that are available also on the website of the DEN project. So we will introduce them, but then you will be able to read them going in our website and have time to familiarize with them. So we aim to be together maybe 40 minutes. It depends on how much we talk, but we try to keep it quite short. So for those that don't know us, the DEN project means Democratic Education in Nature, and it's a project that has been funded by the Erasmus Plus framework. Yes, that's the website of our project. Under the Action K2, Cooperation for Partnership. The project started in April last year, and it's ending today. And we had three partners in this project, Quest, which is the organization I represent, which is a European network connecting different educational organizations in Europe to promote research, projects and policy advancement in educational transformation. We had Playa Escuela, which is a democratic education, a democratic school in nature located in Spain, Tenerife. And Aldo de la Tuscia here. I don't know, Aurelia and Matteo, you want to say some words? You're muted.
Yeah, so we are a democratic school in nature, located in Italy, in more or less 2 hours from Rome, near the lake of Bolsena in Selva della Mone. And I think we really enjoy making this project, and was a really beautiful opportunity for us and for sharing our experience and to practice together with other people and connecting with other people all around the world. So thank you, Martina, for this opportunity.
We started with this project with the idea of bridging two educational approach, so democratic education and education in nature, putting therefore forward a new developing approach and systematizing it. But at the same time, we want also to promote the professionalization of organizations that were already practicing democratic education in nature, creating exchange among schools, that were following this approach, or schools that were new to it, but they wanted to know more. And with the overall ambition to fostering change in educational policy development. The project had three major results. The first one is the research report that I will now introduce to you. Following that, we had a series of 4 workshops online that we organized. And after that, the last, and that will be presented as well in the forms of the workshop proceedings. And after that, we realized the third, the project outcomes, which are the guidelines. So I would like now to spend a few words presenting you the first project results, which is the research report, and which, as you see, it's also available in the website. You can download it, and we are soon also uploading the translation in our national languages. So being us based in Belgium, we will have the Dutch translation, and we will have an Italian translation done by Alberto Latoucha, and a Spanish translation done by Playa Escuela. We created this research because we really wanted to map out what was the status of democratic education in nature in Europe. And we wanted to see what were the benefits, what are the practice, what are the needs of the professionals that were practicing this educational approach, but also the needs of those that maybe wanted to get in close but were not yet practicing it. The first step, we used 3 different methods. We did a review of the literature, then we did some questionnaires to democratic school in nature, and democratic school in natures, and finally we had focus groups with experts. The first thing we do was a systematization of the literature and trying also to understand what we mean for democratic education in nature. So you would see in the report there is quite extended literature on what is democratic education and the 2 underpinning pillars of democratic education, for the self-directed education, but also the community decision making. And we explore the different literature on democratic education in the report. At the same time, we also invest time in exploring what is nature education, what are the different approaches of nature education, and through it we look at the difference between environmental education, outdoor learning, and forest schooling. After this comprehensive analysis, we identify what is democratic education in nature and what are the differences compared to the other side approach. We see, therefore, democratic education in nature as a pedagogical concept that combines both democratic education and education in nature by establishing schools that have strong connection with nature, while democratic values such as self-determination and the democratic community process are at the center of this pedagogical approach. The approach came from the belief that neutral and non-intentional design and not established character of nature, it's very much create potential to increase the idea of free self-determination that it's in democratic education. Therefore, we spent some time in the research to explain the meaning of this approach and how the two different pillars of democratic education, nature education, complement themselves. we could definitely, we did a country analysis of the 3 major countries that represent this, that are represented in this research, to understand what is the situation of the educational system in Belgium, in Italy, and in Spain. And this served as a sort of precondition to then do the questionnaires and the interview in our 3 countries. What's the situation of the educational system, how it is changing, what the situation of democratic school in each of the 3 countries, and is natural education applied, and is democratic education in nature present there. After having done this 3 country analysis, then we proceed to the questionnaires and the focus group. We could have we gathered more than 25 questionnaires, and then we analyzed this together with the results of the focus group. What we could see is that all the responders of the questionnaires agreed that there are great benefits in combining self-determination and nature education. And this is the same thing that emerged in most recent literature on the benefit of nature and on the respect of children self-directed education. Both democratic schools and nature school interviewed in the different methodologies, they confirmed that democratic education in nature is beneficial for a healthy development of the students, to boost their motivation and to promote their personal and social skills. They see that the complementarities of these 2 methods is really strong. Because thanks to this 2, we see that in nature, the sense of belonging improve, the sense of cooperation and communication can improve. There is a reduction of hostility and a reduction of adrenaline, and there is so a sense of well-being much more augmented when democratic education is practiced in nature. The feeling of being able to focus more, to be able to be more calm, and also to take some risk allows children to be more themselves, to be more at ease also with the environment they are living it. At the same time, the research was also very clear about what are the actual challenges of applying democratic education in nature. Many respondents say that it's first of all, it's difficult to have to find for many schools to find a place where to go to take the children outdoors. Moreover, there is a need to adaptation when bringing children in the forest. Also, children are used to live in the cities. Therefore, for most of them, nature is not such a friendly environment because it's unknown for them. And then, yes, there is also a problem with the families. With most of them, they don't spend time in nature. So there is a sense of maybe mistrust, and they feeling that they don't feel safe that their children spend much time outdoors. In any case, there is also a feeling that one of the major challenges remains the role of parents within the school. There is difficulties to dealing with the doubts of parents that tends to be anxious when confronted with the fact that in democratic education in nature, there are less of formal competencies to be acquired, much more of soft skills. So there is a need of sort of re-education of parents, and also to bridge more the families, so that the parents can fully support the ideas promoted by democratic education in nature school. there is also sometimes difficulties to, well, there are two structural major problems. One is connected with the finances, because most of those schools are private schools, so it's difficult for them to get their finance, and they are constantly dependent on the family's fee. So it's a big economic challenge to offer a quality education, but at the same time with limited economical resources. And finally, one of the biggest problems is also the legal framework. So the fact that there is no recognition by the state or Ministry of Education of this kind of pedagogy. And this brings up all sort of a problem connected to the recognition of the learning path of the children, the need to do exams, and etc. Regarding the needs, we know that most of the teacher, of the educator, replied that they need to know more about the research behind those approaches, and that's also something that reconfirmed the need of this research. More knowledge of real case examples of other schools practicing this, and sharing of understanding and experience among the schools. So there is the study at the end suggests that there are steps to be taken in order to solve the challenges, and one of these is definitely the need to advocate for this pedagogy at the national level in order to allow schools to apply more freely democratic education in nature, so that it could be supported financially, logistically, and legally by states. What would probably be needed is the configuration of a roadmap of action that could entail different action taken, including awareness raising activities. So more example of this, what the school entailed in the local communities, doing more trainings, showcasing examples, more research to be done, so more relations with academies, and more political advocacy, and possibly also legal actions. But about all these aspects, we will discuss later on in the guidelines. But before moving to the guidelines, let's say that the research overview ends here. After the research, we took really stock of all the findings and all the needs that we identified, and thanks to the need of the research, we created a series of workshops that's composed now the second part and the second project results of them. And now I will give the floor to Matteo, that will present the workshop proceedings. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very, very much, Martina. I think you made a very beautiful resume of what the project was, and it was a project that lasted for 1.5 years. And I'm going to talk about the workshop that we create after seeing the research results and seeing what were the needs that was coming out from this research. And I think this workshop were 4 workshops originally of 3 hours each, and I will try to resume them more or less in 15-20 minutes. So I will try to be short, but with no rush, and talking to you about the 4 different workshops that we did. So the first workshop was led by Playa Escuela, and the relator was Gabriel Groitz, and was about the quality education. So what is quality education? And started with the question, what kind of citizen this society need, our society needs. And And we all agree about the fact that the need that the children and citizens in the future will think with their own mind and knows how to interact in a democratic environment, so know how to cooperate in a democratic way. So what came out was the needs of responsible, autonomous, sensitive, and creative people that can act creatively in their life, not only in an artistic sense, but even in a life sense, to create a new life, to create the life that we dream for our children and for ourselves. And going through that, we meet the question, so what's wrong in conventional education that is coming out from many different sources, starting from the industry to the school, to the children themselves, to the students, to the teachers that complain that they cannot really enjoy in their teaching, and they feel that they would like some changes, but they don't know where. So we started with this question: so what's wrong in the conventional education? And we started analyzing the conventional education, but Gabriel analyzed the conventional education and see that it's divided in curriculum, evaluation, and instruction. These are the three main parts of conventional education. And these three parts always start from it's an adult-centered point of view, where we transmit to children usually that they need some more information to evolve and to participate and to be enough. The problem of this kind of approach that have many benefits for what we can transmit to the children, but usually it's that we transmit to children even that they are not enough as they are in this moment. So they need our guidance and they need our instruction to find their happiness, their way of living. And this transmitting insufficiency to them, that they feel that they are not enough as they are, they cannot take decision, and they cannot really participate, so they don't practice in that. And so it's the first part that goes wrong. And the second one that we all see was the fact that children and students in general, they don't have the opportunity to freely follow their biological and ethological needs. And this one, the possibility to move freely, the possibility to go to the bathroom when they need to ask permission for that, or to eat when they're hungry, and especially to move and to be in contact with their surrounding, and to be in contact with what they want and what is their desires. And this brings the disconnection. So this disconnection is like one of the major part of the crisis of our society, that brings a disconnection from the academic world to the industry world, to the world of the work. So there is these two different fields. Then there is a disconnection from ourselves, because we cannot decide, we cannot choose till we are 18, more or less. And this brings us to don't know anymore what we really want. And definitely then there is the disconnection from the mother, usually in the early childhood, when they're like the first schools, and this connection with the social environment around them, because schools create this environment very close respect from the world outside. And so after coming out with this, we went to the question, so what can be done to change this reality? And for this, Gabriel brought us these 8 quality aspects of the education, 8 quality aspects of education, and that we all agree with them, and we found like really a very beautiful resume of very important points for education. And now I will only like mention them without discussing them in detail, but you can go on the website and find it and download all the files about it and go more deeper on that. So these 8 points are, the first one is the self-education of the adults. So being in a constant process of learning, be a permanent learner that never ends. And this transmits to the children the example to learn, not only the example to teach and to profess, but the example to a constant learning. And this is the first one. The second one is the trustful relationship, so that we can create trustful relationship with children and with students. And that needs smaller groups and pedagogical teams that can talk between each other and interact, so they can talk about the children and create this trustful relationship. The third one is intrinsic motivation. So the motivation should come from inside and always come from inside. Only when it's moved by prize or punishment, review or punishment system is the only way that goes to external motivation, what we call. And we believe and we see, and there are many evidence about that, how more powerful is when the motivation is intrinsic. When it comes from inside the children, we see much better results and much more happiness during the process of learning. And brings even to more creativity, more intuition for the future and for their development. The fourth one is personal development in democratic environment, in the beliefs that participating in democratic environments from the childhood is the best way for practicing them and for like becoming a responsible adult that can interact in a democratic environment. The fifth is a free play. Free play is not only like losing time or only free time outside of the school, but it's an ethological needs for human, for develop, for growing, especially for children, but for all the ages, and for experiencing our limits, to see what are our limits, how can we grow, what we can do to practice our imagination, our creativity and our logic. Then the sixth one is the contact with the real world. So being always in contact with the real world, the social structure around us, and the natural environment that surround us. So bringing children outside in nature, outside in the city, outside in the socioeconomic environment, so they can interact with that. The seventh is the situational and process-orientated approach. That means that we are not so much focused in the product, in the result of the study, but in the process. So how it's going the process with the children, so that it's not anymore that important for our health, the product that the children can offer to the world, but his state of alignment with themselves and with the environment around them, and how we interact, and how is the process through learning. And this brings a micro learning situation where we can learn and go together with the children, teaching them step by step what he wants to learn, what is ready to learn at that moment. And then the eighth and the last one is no discrimination or segregation. And this is something that goes obviously with all the different kind of discrimination and segregation, and even in the one about ages. So if we create mixed age groups, this has a lot of benefits for learning and for development and health of children, and not only of them, and even of adults and of teenagers. They can practice, and then they have like different like tips for learning from one child, from one more adult, and doesn't create this hierarchy of classes that we feel in our society, we feel in our world, divided by ages. And then this was the first part that ended with an exercise and the question and answer session, where people can discuss and put some question about that. And more or less all the workshop was structured in this way. There was one part that was theoric with the presentation, and there was the second part that was exercise and then an interaction, and one part of question and answer, where everybody could interact and ask this question. So then the second session that we made the week after, all this workshop was made in February, in the month of February 2023. And the second session was in the second week of February, and the main focus was democratic education. Martina Paone was the speaker for this workshop, and she started this session with one of the most fundamental question of all pedagogies. It is, what does it mean to be human? And from that, she developed like a point of view from the different approach of pedagogies, because starting with this question, different pedagogies are born and come out, and showing the definition of democratic education through that. And so we pass to the definition of the democratic education, and putting like settle down the main points of democratic education. And it is divided in two main components, and that are the self-determination and the democratic participation, so the community process. Martina went in detail about these two topics. So what is self-determination? What does it mean? What are the different the different benefits of that and what is meant for that. And these are the, like you can see in the page behind the main, the resume of the main part of this. So we see the human rights, that from the Convention on the Rights of the Child, we see that children's fundamental right to participate in decision concerning their own lives has recently been recognized. And this is something that we still need to work on a lot. Even if it's a decision of more than 30 years ago, we still have to make children participate actively in their life, in their decision on what concerns their life. Then we see how self-determination influences mental and physical health, saying how self-determination is one of the most important factors for mental health. So the opportunity to determine ourselves, to choose our path in our life. And then we see what is self-directed education and all the benefits of that. Seeing that right now we see that it's one of the best, it's the best way for children for choosing their path, for learning and for developing. And how the forced and coercive method brings a lot of damage for children that they have to carry on during their life. Then the second main point of democratic education was the democratic community process. So that the self-determination is inside the community of equals of a democratic community process. And as you can see, the two main topics was the community of equals and democratic participation. So that we are all equal in a democratic school. So there is no hierarchy between teacher and students, but there are only different roles and different function, different objective that we have. But we sit all together as equals and we decide together, and children have the possibility to say and to decide what it's about their life and their learning and their daily life and their schools. What was about democratic participation is about the fact that the best way for children for go inside and start a democratic life when they will be 18 is starting learning democratic participation when they are children, when they are very young. And if they start to practicing it, they will go out after with the knowledge and with the skills for interacting in a democratic country and to participate in that. And this is one of the main division from conventional school and democratic schools. That in conventional school, children are not seen as fully citizen till they are 18. Instead, in democratic school, they're seen as citizen with equal rights since they are children. So they can decide, they can take decision about their life, obviously with the supervision of an adult. And then after this settling down the theory of the democratic education, we went through the history of democratic education. It was born at the end of the 1800s, and we see all the different the first thinkers that theorized the democratic education, and the first school that were born in all around Europe, and yeah, looking like Summerhill, like the most old school that now still existent right now, that is more than 100 years old. And then after that, we see the different models of democratic education, and they have all little difference between one another's. As you can see in this graphic in the picture, there is the Sudbury School, Summerhill School, Sociocratic School, and Libertarian School. And they all can be considered democratic school with some difference. In some schools, there are less possibility of free decision for children, other less participation. Some has like a already fixed lesson that are offered to children that they can decide to participate or not. Other, the process of creating a lesson is from the beginning created with the children. And then at the end, finally, we see how to put in practice all this and what does it mean to have a democratic school and how to put in practice. And for this, Martina used this graphic of the self-directed learning about Sudbury School, seeing the main aspect of a democratic school. And then at the end, we asked the question: is it possible to implement democratic education in state school. And we see so the limits that there are for a democratic school to enter in the state school, and even the possibility for the new requests coming from European Union, from UNESCO, and that democratic education can be really an help for the state school for face these new challenges of the new century that is coming. And then at the end we see some of the actual reality of interaction between state school and democratic education. So the DESK project to promote democratic education in state school, this Suvemai, that is a democratic state school in Tallinn, Estonia, and the 20% campaign by Derry Hannam to implement the 20% of the daily school, of the timeless school, where children can decide what to do. Can be already a big step for the democratic education. And then the Lycée Autogéré de Paris is the self-organized high school in Paris. And then we move to the third session. It was about all the benefits of nature for mental and physical health, for development, for social behavior, and for environmental consciousness. This was a big review of all different scientific studies of what are the benefits of nature about all of them, and what are the scientific evidence about that. This was guided by Albert de la Tuscia, so from me and Aurelia. And in the first part, we had the presentation, like showing all the different studies about that and seeing all the different benefits. So what we see and what we have statistically, the evidence of the benefits of the natural exposure for health. So this could be going inside in nature, or can be even like only watching some picture of natural environment, hearing the sound of some birds. There are many different studies made some in the laboratory, some outside with a walk in a park, or some days spent in the wild, in forest or whatever. And as you can see from this graphic, we see that from health there are already many, and there are only few. This was research that we made, but there are a lot of studies about that, much more than what we present. And all of the study was more or less ending saying we need more studies about them. We need to deepen our understanding on the benefits of natural exposure for our health and our development. So we see for health, we have a better sleep in general, is a mood enhancer, spending time in nature. Our immune system becomes stronger, cardiorespiratory fitness, etc. And even for development, and we see even for learning, for the development of the children, there's many benefits, from the language skill to the memory to creativity. Then there is more calm and concentration, etc. And our social interaction are much better. Usually spending time in nature, we have more, everything obviously is connected. When you have, our mood is enhanced, then our social interaction is better. When we are more calm, our social interaction obviously is improved. But we see many studies about the kindness that is improved in children and adults who spend time in nature, self-confidence and self-esteem, affectivity, etc., as you can see. And then finally, the last part was environmental consciousness. So the awareness of what we have around us. So what is this life that surrounds us? How much we become aware spending time in nature. And we see many benefits on that, on the ecological behavior, how children are more brought to have an ecological behavior when they spend time in nature, because they know, and what we know, we can love it and we can protect it, instead of what we don't know, and it's much more difficult. Then about the aesthetic and spiritual values, mindfulness and ecosystem mentality. So we feel part of something and we feel like how to be useful and our role in this society. And yeah, so we pass through all of these differently, so from health, personal development, and we see all that. And then the second part was guided by Aurelia, and was about how to integrate nature and learning environment, because we have the luck in our school, we are inside the woods, and so nature is very near to us, but we understand and we see that most of the people now live in the cities, where it's not so easy to have contact with natural environment. So we try to find out what are the opportunity for implement the nature presence in the schools, and we see some of the opportunities, some suggestion for supporting this. Then we pass through the different approaches of education in nature. Environmental education is education to an ecological behavior in general that can be done, that usually is done in normal classroom inside closed. Then there is outdoor learning that is simply bringing the regular and normal education outside in the outdoor environment. And then there is the last one that was forest school. That is that is very focused on outdoor time, especially exists in Germany and Switzerland and Austria, I think, and is and usually are like a small group guided by there is a particular curriculum to become a forest school leaders and etc. And then at the end we talk about what is democratic education in nature, so what we meant by that, and we finish seeing what are the benefits for nature, for democratic education, and for democratic education to education in nature, how these two nurture each other and how they marry each other. And as Martina was briefly said before, we see that adrenaline and noradrenaline in the blood is reduced. Then we have like much more social cohesion in the environment. That is in natural environment. That is allowed to democratic education to work better. There is more vitality. There is in general less hostility and depression. The language skills are improved. Creativity is improved. Social cohesion and community identity is created by a beautiful environment, natural environment. Self-esteem and impulsivity is reduced, etc. And then you can see all these benefits in all the files that we have. Then moving forward, we have the last session. It was session 4, where we started with a review of all the first 3 sessions. So we see again quality education, democratic education, and the benefits of nature and education in nature. And at the end, we see how to put in practice democratic education in nature. So all the suggestion about how to do that. And we see this about talking about the space. So what is the space that is needed in that? How is it possible to do it obviously in an environment where it's very close to nature, but even in cities can be possible organizing more tour outside in nature and improving the natural environment around, creating like a space for nature inside the school. Then we see all the key elements of democratic schools, the community process of a democratic school, so the interaction with parents, the creation of trustful relationship between children, students, and parents, and the age mixing groups. That is one fundamental part of democratic education. So the opportunity and the benefits of staying all together in different ages, at least for some time, and in some time where they can all stay together and influence each other. You can see all these in the workshop proceedings. And at the end, we see the challenges of this kind of approach. So as you can see there, the first one was the social expectation. And this obviously comes from all the society, so from the parents, from the teachers. So the needs of evaluation, the needs to transform like a educational process in a number. Then there are the titles, the needs to entitle a person of some specific part that define him, and how this is difficult in a situational and process-oriented approach. Then we see the economic situation. Right now, there are very fragile reality of the democratic school in Europe and in the world, and usually are private, and so there are some challenges about that and some criticism on that. And so the needs of some public funds for this reality to survive. Then we see the legal situation that is not clear and is very different from different countries, every country has its own laws, and it's not very clear, and so it's not completely legal, and they always need to find like a gray area when they can act. And then they have like in Italy the exam at the end of the year, but every country is different for that. So would be needed a general overview for giving the opportunity, a general framework for giving the opportunity to this kind of education to improve. And then we see the criticism of democratic schools, and obviously the size, because the size of the democratic schools right now are very small, and this obviously has its benefits and its bad part, because don't allow obviously to teacher to know better the students and create this trustful relationship. But obviously it's much more difficult when we are talking about very big schools like the normal state school, where it can be more than 1,000 or 2,000 students. Then there is the economical exclusivity, so that only few people can participate, because right now they're only private school, and the liberal approach and the different cultures and models that we see all around the world. And then we had the academic debate. We talk about that, the different debate about the different kind of education and the benefits of that for our evolution. And this was the end of the workshop that we planned. But at the end, we see that 12 hours that we invest in this workshop were not enough, and then we found a lot of enthusiasm and appreciation from all the people that participate to that. And so we decided to offer a bonus session where they can make question and answer to all to the content of the workshop. And so we had a last session where we discussed all these point that you can see in the workshop proceeding, and it was very beautiful to interact with all the people from all over the world, and to have this opportunity to see that the challenges that we are facing is very similar all over the world, and there is a rising of new needs for children, and of a new opportunity of freedom, and to create their own a school system that is much more human and much more respectful of their freedom of choice. So, and this is about the workshop. I hope I've been clear about that. And after the workshop, we create some guidelines for schools, and for creating a democratic schools in nature. So to settle down the basic of democratic education in nature. And I will leave Aurelia talking about that and introducing to us the guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will show you quickly the guidelines. The guidelines we created is basically because we had all this information that we gathered in the workshop and in the research we did. And the question was, how can we make a summary that is easy to understand and easy to read for everyone, to put this in practice, because maybe people are wondering what can we do. So now we created these guidelines. In the guidelines, first you will find a short summary of the project and why we did the project, and what the project is about. And then we divided the guidelines in several parts. The idea was that we were thinking of who can it be interesting to profit from our outcomes that we found in the research, and we divided the guidelines into the academic part, the policymakers, the schools, and the parents. And obviously the guidelines are for everyone who's interested in the topic, but yeah, we decided to make this division. So first we were talking about policymakers in general, and in the end we will go a bit more in detail for the several countries, Italy, Spain, and Belgium, but there are many things that are valid for all Europe. So basically in the recommendations for the policymakers, we collected some points that in our opinion could be done in Europe to make it more possible to integrate democratic education in nature in all schools, not only in small schools, what is at the moment the case, that basically all the democratic schools are quite small and not really the normal thing. So yeah, we make this list. I will not read it now because it will take a lot of time. So you can check it on the website. And the first part is in general, then there's a small part that is only on Euro level, that are our recommendations. The second part is about recommendation for academics, because we realized that there is only a few material about these topics and it's quite hard to find information. So even if you're interested in finding out more about this topic, it's yeah, hard to find. So our recommendation would be in general that there's a better research about it, that there's given more importance to the topic of democratic education in nature, and to provide more data that is available for everyone who's interested. So yeah, in general, it is important to raise more awareness about this topic, because many people, we also realized when doing the workshops or talking outside with people, they don't even know what is democratic education in nature. So yeah, to invest a bit more in providing trainings and information material about it. Then the next step was about the recommendation for schools. The recommendation for schools was we tried to make a summary of whatever school do. So not only the small ones, but every public school even can do some steps to make the place more democratic, and maybe to allow an experience close to nature for the children. So yeah, here you can find a list about all the steps a school can do. Yeah, and some parts are about the connection with nature, while other parts are more about the democratic aspect. The next part is about the recommendations for the families, because it's not only about the school or the policy makers, but it's also about the families itself, because to put the democratic education in practice, it's also very important that parents know about it and that parents are aware of the importance and the benefits of democratic education and democratic education in nature, like the importance, the benefits that also Matteo was already talking about before, that we found out, and that it's not only happening in school, but also at home, because it's something that is, has to be considered in daily life, not only the few hours that the children are at school. And it's really important that the parents trust in their children, and they trust in their in their education process. So there is that they let go of maybe old patterns and old convention about how school should be, and that there's like an open communication possible about it and curiosity. And in the end of the guidelines, you will find first the National Transferability Action Plan for Belgium. Here we made like a collection of things that are especially valid for Belgium. So what are the situation at the moment in Belgium? You can find in the research report. And these are the points that we think are possible and necessary in Belgium to do to make it more accessible for everyone, the democratic education in nature. So, and the same we did also for Italy. Here we made like a division between the part of nature, integrate nature in schools, and integrate democratic elements in public schools. Because, and I think it's something that every school can do, because something that we felt sometimes like, okay, no, it's too big step, like a huge step to become a democratic school in nature, but it's not about changing completely everything. It's about little steps that everyone can do, and that can be about go for a walk with the children, organize camps, or more interaction with nature, or find at least a small space where children can express themselves and make decisions or take care of a personal project. So it's not something that you have to change all the schedule of the week. It's something that you can do step by step. And in the end, you find the national transferability plan for Spain. And also there you find all the steps that are specific for Spain and what we think that could be done. And yes, and all this collection, we tried, like I said, to keep it short and to find the version that is accessible for everyone. So you can share it if you feel like sharing it with someone, or yes, and all these files, like we said before, you can find on our website that I will share on. I think it's possible to share it under the YouTube video that we will share later. So if you want to read one of the documents that we presented before, you can do so. And we will, I think tonight, we will also upload the Italian and the Spanish and the Dutch version. So it's for everyone. And yes, thank you for listening. And I don't know if Martina or Matteo want to add something.
Well, for me, just a very precious to see all the work we have been doing in 1 year and a half, being able to summarize in 1 hour exactly. So, but I wanted to point out that besides this work that we could share with you today, maybe one of the most important outcome that came out of this year and a half was the strong collaboration both among the 3 partners, but also with all the the teachers, the parents, the educators that we met over the course of this of the DEN project, which reaffirmed the importance of the work we were doing, the importance of having more research and analysis and much more a scientific understanding that would support the work done, need of more trainings. And what was really important, and Matteo mentioned, is that the workshop were an extreme success. We have almost the double of participants that we expected, and some of them realized that over the course of their training as teacher, they could never come across to something like that, and that it was really eye-opener for them. So for us, I think it has been a very powerful moment, the fact of realizing that we were giving the opportunity to many schools to learn more about this subject, and I'm sure to start practicing. And concluding with the guidelines, it's just my advice for everyone that is interested to read, but also to spread, so that we can do a small step toward the educational change. And I just want to thank everyone that attended this workshop. I know we have a lot of greetings and person that are thanking us through the YouTube channel, and above all, thanks Aurelia and Matteo, but also Gabriel and Paola for having been a fantastic partner of this journey.
Thank you.
And well, we hope to have much more projects in the future to continue this journey. And maybe one advice that we can bring is that whoever still has the curiosity, the interest to keep working and researching on this, can definitely contact Quest or Albero Della Tuscia, and because we are continuously reflecting on how to bring those topics to another level. And therefore, don't hesitate to contact us. Okay. Thank you very much. Maybe Matteo.
Thank you, Martina. Thank you, Aurelia, and thank you to all that participated. Really happy that we bring on these. And I just want to say that for me, it was even a great opportunity of learning and developing. And I always feel that we always learn better we teach better what we need to learn. So it's always a process of learning and teaching that it goes together, and was a great opportunity of growth of this project. And I hope that we can keep moving on. And yes, again, I'm a chorus to Martina. So if someone is interested in developing and implementing democratic education in nature, can contact us. I'm very happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wanted to add one thing that we are, I don't know who's interested, we are also working on another project that is called Desk. So maybe I will share also something about it in the chat or afterwards on the under the video, because it's also like about the same topic or very similar topic. It's about democratic education in public schools. So we are collaborating with 5 other countries and continue working for 1 more year about this project.
And whoever is interested can join us in the EUDAC conference this summer in Sofia, where it's the meeting of all democratic school community around Europe. So we will be there and we will further discuss those topics and bring it, but it will be in person. So you will have the chance to meet all of us and reflect and discuss further.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.